What's up, everybody? It's the Power Rankings Podcast, aka the Power Rankings Show. Boy, the music went out there very quick. The keyboard player just said, "I'm done. I've been paid. I'm out." Yeah, that shocked me. I'm Elliot Harrison, and I'm pleased to be joined, as always, with the one and only, the earth tone T-shirt wearing at Marcus_Mosher. Hello, sir.
Elliot, how you doing today?
I'm good. I just found out offline as we were signing on. By the way, Marcus never really asked me how I am unless he either on this podcast or at night. So if you think it's fake, him asking me, he doesn't ask me when we're on the phone beforehand. So it really is a
I just
sincere,
assume that you're
Elliot,
great all the time.
Yeah. So that being said, but Marcus informed me like right before we came on the podcast what he's been up to, and it's pretty interesting stuff. I'm going to share that with you guys in a second. We're going to talk some guys on the move today. There's been some cuts, some notable cuts, I should say, and also the combine. If you are of the combine predilection, you are going to be extremely excited about tomorrow, because tomorrow is the start of the what this would be. I believe they started the combine in '87. So that would make this the 37th combine. Is that right?
36. They didn't have one in 2021 because of COVID.
Cookies.
36. But you could also just say if you're a huge nerd, you're looking forward to the combine. That's an easier way to say it.
Yeah, I'm not a big combine guy, admittedly. We're going to do a podcast tomorrow, and we're going to talk a little bit like a podcast primer, kind of like what you should look for, why you should be into it, and then maybe some reasons you shouldn't be. So I'm going to have a bunch of really good questions for Marcus. We're going to do that tomorrow. And if you guys are curious, the combine got started in 1987 because they wanted to just get all these college players together in one place, instead of having data collected at the schools where the tracks were different. All the conditions were different for the 40-yard dash and things like that. I'll give a little bit of a history of that when we do our combine primer podcast, if you guys are so interested in such things. Marcus certainly is. It's like D&D for Marcus. He like,
I can't sleep the night before. It's so much fun.
Yeah.
Loaded up on cherry Coke for the weekend. I'm excited.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. You're loaded up on the combine. That's for sure. I wanted to say that I do think the combine is important, but I do think that these guys that have been cut are pretty important too. So we're going to get to that real quick, though. A couple of big events in Marcus's life this week. Number one, the man bought a truck, and it's not long. It's not long. Go ahead. Why don't you tell everybody what you plan on doing sometime this week?
I mean, other than just taking my selfie in the truck way up high with my hat on and my sunglasses on, other than that,
yeah, there's that. And
I'm not doing that.
We're in the part of the off season where Marcus likes to occasionally take in an old game. And so he was telling me what old game he took in. I'll let you tell everybody. And I was able to guess from the little data you gave me. And this is so random. So First of all, what game were you watching and why did you choose this one?
So I was watching a Dallas Cowboy game in 1996. It was Cowboys and Falcons at Texas Stadium. The Cowboys were 3-3 at the time, and the Falcons were 0-6. So I gave Elliot the information. The Cowboys were 15-point favorites against this team. What game was I watching? And you, of course, were able to figure it out.
Well, when I did figure it out, I didn't get any reaction from Marcus at all. It's
I'm just expecting. So You want to know how I started watching this game?
Yeah.
I think I was watching Dion highlights, and it just popped up as like one of the suggested games on the side. I'm like, you know what? I'll throw it on YouTube while I look for some trucks on my laptop. So I started watching it, and really, really fun game. Came down to kind of the last possession. Troy Aikman hit Calvin.
Can
Martin.
I guess? Come on. That's what I was going to say.
50-yard touchdown.
I was gonna say my memory of that game is Troy Aikman hitting Kelvin Martin, Kmart, for like what it wasn't a long bomb. It was more like a deep slant and kind of run, wasn't it?
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't even really a deep slant. It was like 10 yards, and he took it the rest of the way. Pretty unbelievable play.
Man, Kelvin Martin was one of those dudes who, if you are a Cowboy fan or you collected football cards back then, you knew who he was, obviously, but such a clutch little guy, man. And he was a little receiver. He's from Boston College. He played for Philadelphia and Seattle as well. My friend Suzzy, who's a big Eagles fan, will punt return in 91 knocked the greatest defense of all time out of the playoffs, the 91 Eagles. And if you don't believe me on greatest defense of all time, look up the 91 Eagles numbers. They'll blow you away. It's unbelievable. They never get talked about, by the way, that group. And I'm trying to remember, you told me that Bobby Hebert started. Now that I remember that Bobby Hebert was the backup, but you told me he started that game. And after you complained about the way his name is spelled.
It's dumb.
Yeah. So we should call it Justin Hebert. I remember that year now. That's the year. Did you ever see the video from, I think it was Sunday Night Football, where Jeff George gets into it with June Jones, the head coach, and they're like bickering at each other, but it's not like they're yelling. Like Jeff George or June Jones has his arms folded, and Jeff George, you could tell they're just sniping at each other. And it's one of those arguments like, okay, that was it. That was the last word. But then one guy's like, I'm not going to let him have the last word. I'm going to have the last word. And they just went back and forth, and it was embarrassing. I think it was a game against Philadelphia, and that was the end of the Jeff George era. He went to the Raiders the next year. Played there for 2 years, and he played in Minnesota and so on and so forth. But Bobby Hebert, longtime New Orleans Saint, former USFL quarterback for the Michigan Panthers and Oakland Invaders, actually had to be the Falcons quarterback. So I think it's really cool that you watched that game, but it's so weird at the same. You always pick random.
It's just because it was on the side. I'm like, you know what? I don't remember watching this game. I don't think I've seen it recently. So let's watch it. So it was fun.
So also, you would have been about another 5.
Thing. Yeah, another thing that was cool about that game, John Madden and Pat Summerall did it. So that's another reason why I like watching it.
Yeah, I mean, I will say the 95 Falcons did make the playoffs. They lost to Green Bay. This was not a bad team, but 96, they fell apart. That led to Dan Reeves being hired in 97. Of course, you remember the Dirty Bird Falcons. Did you watch the Falcons Broncos Super Bowl, even as a little tyke?
See, that's the first Super Bowl that I remember watching as a kid.
Yeah. Dan Reeves, second most underrated head coach of all time. That's my, I think Dan Reeves should be in the Hall of Fame.
Freddie Kitchens, number 1.
Yeah. Freddie Kitchens, number 1. And then it's a long line. I've gone Mike Mularkey, Dave Campo,
Doug Marrone.
Doug Marrone.
Yeah.
Yeah. Remember all the Buffalo Bills? They had like Mularkey, Marrone. Marrone actually did a pretty good job for them. They had Dick Duran.
Yeah.
Yeah. I could never keep that straight. I was so worried when I had to take an entrance exam to work at NFL Network. And one story always leads to another. I apologize. We're going to get to the guys that just recently got cut, but I had to tell the story. Back when I applied at the NFL, I was working at Fox Sports at the time. I had to take an entrance exam. I had to take an NFL exam, and there were 50 questions on it. And have I told you this story before offline?
No.
Yeah. And so after my interview and everything, they said, look, we make everybody do this. That's going to work in our core production group. I was working behind the camera at the time, or I was applying for a behind the camera job. And they said, especially for your group, it's really important that you guys know your stuff. So we need to see that. So you get all sorts of questions like who won Super Bowl 10? One of them was, can you name, all the coaches in the AFC East, that kind of thing.
Yep.
And I had so much anxiety that I was going to forget who the Bills head coach was because they had so many of these guys.
They did.
And I was just going to write the wrong one down. And it turns out I got 49 out of 50 questions right. The one question I got wrong was they had like 6 people and you had to identify who they were. One of them was Virginia McCaskey, George Halas's daughter. So that was a hard one. I got that one, but the players that they showed, they were these small little pictures and they were kind of, you remember when like you're
a little distorted.
Yeah. You'd print off the internet and you get like this thing that looks like it's a,
little pixelated.
Yeah. Or an artsy piece from like 1969 where it's not supposed to look like the guy, like the Tom Brady sketch in the courtroom. Yeah. So
who'd you miss?
It's the funniest thing. I missed Keith Brooking.
Oh, get out of here.
I did. I missed Keith Brooking. His hair wasn't poofy like it always was. Remember his hair was always poofy when he'd be yelling. It was short. It was really short. And he had a red background. And
but how could you miss the giant Adam's apple that he just had?
I know. Believe me, I was so mad at myself after I missed it. But remember, it was a grainy picture and he was playing for the Cowboys at the time. And my brain just didn't connect the maroon with, Keith Brooking had a great career for the Falcons.
Former Cowboy great.
I couldn't believe it when I asked the guy, he goes, "You did great on the test." He goes, "You missed one though." And I said, what did I miss? And he goes, "Keith Brooking." Like, of all things to miss.
So that's how you tie it back to the beginning, watching Cowboys Falcons. It's a linebacker that played for both teams. So there you go.
Actually, I think 96 was Keith Brookings' first year in the league.
It was,
if I'm not mistaken.
It was.
So did he play for the Cowboys in 09, 08, 09?
I think it was 08. Yeah.
Yeah. Because they had Zach Thomas for a minute too.
Yeah.
And remember, there were rumors that Brian Urlacher was going to go there after his tenure with the Bears ended, which is a great segue to, we have some older veterans who have been cut. Some of them, this is the only team they've ever been with.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them are signings that were disappointing. Some are just typical financial moves. Marcus is going to go through them and then kind of ask me some questions. I have no idea what he's going to ask me, so I'm ready.
Basically, I want to know, I want you to tell me, is this guy done? Can he still play? And if he can, where would you like to see him land? First guy up,
okay.
Taylor Lewan, all-pro left tackle. Hasn't played a lot over the last couple of years, but was released by Titans. Where would you like to see him land?
Well, so first of all, I think he has something left in the tank, but I think for Taylor Lewan, he's had a really good career. But staying on the field has been a problem. I think that's fair to say. And I, look, a lot of that, I say that not as an insult to the player. Injuries are bad luck. I've had sports injuries. I know how it feels to not be able to get out on the field or run track or whatever. Hamstrings were my culprit. But for Lewan, he's had more serious injuries. And I think a team that's, as I like to tell you, is right there, Marcus, and they know they're there and they're going for it, is the kind of team that he needs to sign with. And I think he deserves to get a shot at winning a championship. He's still young enough to compete. Mm-hmm. So I'd like to see a team. Also, I'd want a coach that understands him. He's a different guy.
He is a different guy.
I kind of lean towards Sean Payton a little bit, but I don't think the Broncos are as close as the Chargers are. I think the Chargers would be an interesting spot. I think the Bengals are a really interesting spot. I don't know if I could top the Bengals. And just thinking off the cuff here, a team that really could use a tackle, an upgrade.
I think the Bengals are the right spot, right? Because I think they need a little bit of nasty on their offensive line. Mm-hmm. And Lewan's already said that he'd like to play for the Bengals. Jonah Williams, their left tackle, is scheduled to become a free agent. I like this fit a lot. And the good thing for the Bengals is it's not going to cost them a lot, right? Like, I think a 1-year, $5 million deal for a 31-year-old offensive lineman is more than fair. So I think Lewan is going to end up on a contender, and I think the Bengals do make a lot of sense.
Can I give you, because I'm probably going to pass on some of these because they don't move the needle for me.
That's fine.
Taylor Lewan does. I'm going to give you an NFC wild card on this, incidentally. I'm going to go back to I'm going to go Dallas Cowboys. If Terrence Steele ends up with another team, which I don't think is going to happen.
Through restricted
free agency.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't, right. Because that means the Cowboys get a chance to match the offer.
Yep.
I just don't want to go down that well. But yeah, you got it. Jason Peters and Tyron Smith are awfully old. I don't want to call them shaky. These are Hall of Fame caliber players, but of course, would you want to have three
that's the issue,
injury
right?
concerns at one position group? I would look at it as low money insurance.
And then on top of that, Terrence Steele tore his ACL. Like he's rehabbing as well. So I got to believe the Cowboys probably won't do that, but I do think maybe Buffalo, right? They've had some problems with their offensive line. Cincinnati makes some sense. No, I think Minnesota's good. They've got Darisaw. I know he missed time last year, and Brian O'Neill. I think they're fine.
That hurt them when they did, though.
I'll give you one more. What about New England? I think Bill Belichick will be able to figure out Taylor Lewan and put him in a good situation there.
I like that. You know what? I didn't even think of New England. That's why you're Marcus Mosher. Actually, you're at Marcus _ Mosher.
That's my real Next name. Up. Next, a favorite of yours, Robert Woods. We touched on him a week ago when he got released. I still think he can play a little bit. Where would you like to see him end up?
Well, let me say it this way. I don't think you can find a team in the league that couldn't use a Robert Woods. I mean that truthfully. Tell me a team that couldn't use him. He's a hard-nosed, gritty player. He's got good hands. He runs good routes. I mean, his old teammates want him back. Cooper Rush, I think. I mean, not Cooper Rush. Sorry.
Cooper Kupp.
Cooper Kupp would like to have him back. But I imagine Cooper Rush wouldn't mind it if he went to the Cowboys. I think the Cowboys are not a bad landing spot for him. I wouldn't like this for him, but I'd love it if a team like the Falcons, who are trying to build some kind of nucleus, could get a guy like that. I feel like a lot of these young teams need a player like that. The Chicago Bears need a player like that for Justin Fields. Now, I wouldn't like that for Robert Woods, because I'd like for Robert Woods to be able to go win a championship. And when the Rams won, he had the banged up knee. What would you think? Buffalo had a hard time last year. Cole Beasley is probably not going to play.
No.
The kid they drafted didn't exactly have a great year. And to be honest, one of my favorite players, Gabe Davis, had some big drops for them.
Yep.
Yeah. So what would you think about Robert Woods for Buffalo to complement Stephon Diggs?
Going back home to Buffalo, the team that drafted him.
They know him well. It wasn't like a bad departure or anything.
No. It was unfortunate that Woods spent most of his time with some pretty average at best quarterbacks, right? Now he goes to an offense where he doesn't need to be the guy. In fact, he's not even the second guy. Like, he can just come in, block, play out of the slot, gives them some insurance. I like that fit quite a bit. I'll give you one more. What about Cleveland? They've got Amari Cooper on the outside. Donovan Peoples-Jones is kind of their field stretcher. I think Woods in that offense, you just need somebody to move the chains that can block when you need them to block. I think that's a good fit for him kind of at this stage of his career.
And honestly, some leadership in that locker room.
Sure.
Why not? By the way, we aren't, emblematic of our regions at all. As you just bought a big truck and I've got a tall venti mocha, whatever I'm sipping on. Okay. Typical, very typical. What's next?
Kenny Golladay, one of the worst contracts you'll ever see. I think the Giants ended up paying him $40 million for 36 catches over 2 seasons. Is there anything left here?
I got it. I got the team. Broncos. I would love for a guy like Sean Payton to sit down with this guy and say, hey, it is what it is right now. Irrespective of whatever is transpired in your career, we're going to get this offense moving, and you can be a part of it and resurrect your career. You're not going to be 1,000-yard receiver. We have other receivers, but you can show people that you can still play. But you're at that point in your career where people are wondering what's left. What else is there? And I think Sean Payton's that kind of guy that could do that and speak with a receiver like this. Frankly, I think Mike Vrabel could probably do that as well, but I don't think Mike Vrabel is going to want a Kenny Golladay. I think you need a strong-willed head coach that can communicate, but also isn't going to tolerate any kind of nonsense. You come here, you play hard, and you do it.
I mean, we probably know he's going to Baltimore, right? That's like my least favorite fit in the whole wide world.
Yeah.
How about the Rams? I don't think the Allen Robinson thing is going to work out at all.
No.
We've seen Golladay be successful with Matt Stafford. They need somebody who can maybe stretch the field a little bit. What do you think about that fit?
I think it's a risk. I don't think the Rams are the team they were last year. I also don't think they're the Super Bowl team anymore, but I think they can get back to competing. And I think Sean McVay, would not have come back unless something else transpires this summer. And, but I if they were just going to tank it, you know what I mean? So I'd actually rather see Cooper Kupp's recruitment work.
I agree.
Get Robert Woods back in the building.
All right. Next one. Marcus Mariota cut by the Falcons after a pretty rough season. Where would you like to see him land?
I think Marcus Mariota can still be a solid backup in the league, but I think that's what he is. Now, the cool thing with him, if he goes to a contender and not with a team that's using him as a bridge quarterback to Desmond Ridder, because let's be honest, that's kind of what Atlanta has done. If he went to a contender, you can use his legs in special packages. The Raiders did this, right? A couple of years ago. Why not, if you're somebody, I'm just throwing this out there, why not if you're someone like Cincinnati? Yeah, you've got a great quarterback, but you don't want and I'm just pulling this team out. Kansas City would be another one. Chad Henne just retired, where if your quarterback either gets banged up, you have a good guy waiting in the wings, or if you want to go to a separate package and be creative on offense, which I think the Bengals and Chiefs could both do, and use Mariota's strengths while also having him as a quality backup. Or do you hate that?
No, I don't hate it at all. I was just thinking, if you're the Bengals, right, and you get into these 3rd and 1, 4th and 1s, you just do these, everybody pushes the pile. Why not bring Mariota in instead of letting Burrow take that punishment, right?
Yes.
And just
yes,
use him that way. My favorite fit, though, for him would be Philadelphia. Like, go play behind Jalen Hurts, I don't want to call them similar style of quarterback, but I think they have some similarities. Go replace Gardner Minshew, who's a free agent. Go sit behind Hurts, get healthy, and then if you need to come in and play a half, and you can run the ball, throw the ball a few times to the tight ends and to A.J. Brown, and be more than fine.
What about the Chargers? I know they've been rolling with Chase Daniel. Just a thought.
I'd rather see them sign Cooper Rush. I'd rather see them sign Cooper Rush, to be honest.
Okay. Would you consider Mariota for Dallas if Cooper Rush went to the Chargers?
No, because I don't know if he's accurate enough to play in a Mike McCarthy offense. I think Philly is a better fit.
Okay.
Next one.
Mm-hmm.
The Washington Commanders. Can you guess who we're going to talk about here?
Yeah. Bobby McCain. Yeah. So I mean,
Carson Wentz. I think if there's a backup quarterback
at all, I don't know, man.
If there's a backup quarterback out there that like makes sense for Dallas, as you mentioned, I think it's Wentz. But I'll be honest, I kind of don't want him in the locker room at all.
It may not be fair. It really may not be fair. There's some kind of aura that comes with this player. Wouldn't you agree? Where he's never really done anything bad.
No,
they're just
there's some friction there, I would say, right in the locker room with Carson Wentz.
There seems to be a pervading feeling about him and his career that is not appetizing to anyone. And again, I hate to repeat the same mantra with Kenny Golladay, and I'm not saying it should be Sean Payton, but I think if Carson Wentz is going to remove that stigma, it sure would help to do it with a coach that is experienced and can talk to him straight up and get him on the right path to resurrecting his career. In some ways, could that be New England? Could it be that, Bill Belichick's a no-nonsense coach, but he's, the Patriots have always been good at playing to their players' strengths. I'm just throwing a team out there. I don't want to see Carson Wentz go to a team like Miami. I'd rather them roll with Skylar Thompson behind Tua. And I don't really want Carson Wentz to be my starter.
I think Carson needs to go somewhere where he is the clear backup and he's no threat at all to take the starting quarterback job. Like, just fully embrace the backup job.
Yeah, I don't want New Orleans to go get Carson Wentz.
And I don't want him in Carolina competing with Sam Darnold either.
No.
What about Jacksonville backing up Trevor Lawrence and Doug Peterson's offense?
Sure, I guess. But, I'm not of this camp. You know how I am. Quit babying these guys. I don't care if they're looking over their shoulder. But if you are of the camp, hey, you don't, because I know you look at that a little differently than I am. Do you really want Trevor Lawrence even thinking that? I know Trevor Lawrence had a good year last year, but he's still a young guy.
I don't think he would worry about Wentz, to be honest.
Okay. I mean, Wentz is a former 2nd overall pick. We're not talking about an 8th round guy. We're not bringing in, Bobby Hebert. Actually, Bobby Hebert had a nice career. So Bobby Hebert had a nicer career than Carson Wentz, actually, I think. But
all right, next one. We could tell the silence there was a little deafening when it came to.
I don't know what to make of him. I'll be honest, I don't. But I said I wouldn't talk about all these guys that much if they didn't move the needle, and here I am, diarrhea of the mouth over here.
That's fine. Next one, Leonard Fournette.
I don't know, man. Leonard Fournette in 2022 did not look like Leonard Fournette of 2021 or 2020 to me. Okay. Now, Did I watch every Tampa Bay game meticulously watching Leonard Fournette's burst? No, but I've always thought of Leonard Fournette as having more long speed, Marcus, than being like a super, hit the hole fast guy.
Yep.
He's not Tony Pollard.
No.
Leonard Fournette, what he came out in the 17 draft, is that right?
Correct. Yep.
Yeah. So we're looking at this is going to be year 7. I think his best days are probably behind him. Now, I will say to his benefit, I don't know that he has terrible wear and tear, so to speak. But after the Cowboy game in week 1 last year, we've been mentioning the Cowboys a lot. I apologize. It just happens that Tampa Bay open up against them. He had that great game, and I didn't really see that Leonard Fournette much the rest of the year. So I don't know how much is there.
All right, 2 fits for you. What about in Philadelphia is likely going to lose Miles Sanders in free agency. I think they like Kenny Gainwell quite a bit, but Gainwell might be 200 pounds. I think Fournette as like the hammer or just the short yardage back, the goal line back, who can also catch out of the backfield a little bit. He has 200 receptions over the last 4 years. Maybe there as like a part-time guy, but my favorite fit, New England. I saw Bill Belichick with LeGarrette Blount at the age of 28 win 2 Super Bowls with Blount as a starter. Then Blount went to Philly in 2017, and he was the starting running back there. I think Belichick could get enough out of Fournette as a short yardage running back and as a third down guy to be useful.
Can I give you another one?
Sure.
I'll give you 2. Both NFC West teams, the Rams and the Niners. First of all, the 49ers. Christian McCaffrey came out also in 17 or 18.
Same draft.
Yeah, same draft, right? 17. Same deal there. It's going to be year 7. And Christian McCaffrey does have a lot of mileage, because he's caught so many balls. I don't think you want Christian McCaffrey being your thumper. If they don't go, with Trey Lance this year, you're going to have less running from your quarterback position, right? So why not have a guy that can help you out? So you're not using Debo inside the 5. Elijah Mitchell had some injury problems last year. And again, this is a team that's there. So I don't know that Leonard Fournette is going to care that much if he only gets 80 carries. Sure. If he gets 80 carries and 10 touchdowns and he wins a Super Bowl, you think he's going to be upset?
No.
The other one are the Rams. The Rams have had such trouble at the running back position. And I think they could use a thumper as well. If Leonard Fournette would want to play, for them, I just know the Rams, they've had a lot of trouble. That has been the Rams' big hole, wouldn't you say, over the last few years?
While, right?
Yeah, and I'm just talking about a guy that can take some carries. Or do you hate both of those?
No. I think the Rams are a better fit. I'm going to ask you a question. I don't think he's going to either of these places, but you tell me what he feels like. Does Fournette feel like a Cardinal or a Raven to you? Because every washed-up every running back that's kind of washed up goes to Arizona.
Yeah, but he's a little too high profile for Baltimore, maybe. At this stage, I think he needs to be more far gone. And I'm not sure that he's washed up. I'm not ready to go there yet.
They had Melvin Gordon and Kenyon Drake and Mike Davis.
I don't think we could say that about Fournette yet, man. I don't think we can.
I think we're teetering though.
Yeah. Hey, we might be. Look, if Dallas can't get an arrangement with Zeke, would you consider bringing him in to fill? No.
Yeah, I would. No, I would. Okay. I said, heck yeah. Because I think he's a better receiver than Zeke, and I think he can do the short yardage stuff if you need him to do that. But we got another Tampa Bay player, Donovan Smith, their left tackle. He has been decent over the last couple of years. He had a down 2022 season, but there's a lot of teams that need offensive linemen help. Where could you see Donovan Smith landing?
He's a young enough player.
29.
Yeah, but at tackle, I don't feel like that's a problem.
No, I'm saying that in a positive. Like he's only 29.
Yeah, I think tackles can play at a really high level until about 34. Now I know
100%
we have other tackles that have played even beyond that, but I think you can anticipate that a high level tackle can play well until around 34 years old. So, again, I hate to repeat myself on this because that's just what I said for Taylor Lewan, but this is another player that I would like to see go to a team that thinks it's there, that's willing to pay a little bit more. So if you had to look at the playoff field of 14 teams that we had, what team do you like out of that group? Because that's the group that I would want to focus on, is a team where he thinks he can go. Because look, man, he just got a taste with Tom Brady.
Yeah.
You know, I'm sure he's going to want to go somewhere. I don't know that he's going to want to play with a guy like that again, who can be pretty hard on his offensive line. Look, we know Kansas City doesn't need him, but Cincinnati, I think, once again, is another spot that you can look at here. I don't think Miami. Go ahead.
No, because they've got Teron Armstead. I think Buffalo continues to make a lot of sense for all of these kind of aging offensive linemen, where all you need is a year, right? Just give us 1 year of good play. But I also wouldn't be surprised if you see some of these other teams that are trying to become contenders.
Raiders.
You know, I mean, if he wants to play right tackle, yeah, because I like Colt Miller at left tackle quite a bit, or Arizona's offensive line.
But when we're talking about a guy that's been cut, who's going to make decent coin, if you can play right tackle, that's a huge boon. That's a huge boon.
What about
everybody
Pittsburgh?
Can do it?
Pittsburgh really needs left tackle help.
Yeah, but are they there? You know, are they even close to there? I know. Look, before you give me the stat about them being 8-1 or whatever the stat that you love, can we roll out your favorite stat?
I think they need to have.
I want you to roll out your
Kenny
favorite
Pickett.
stat.
It's fine. They need Kenny Pickett to get a little bit more help.
Hey, everybody, work with me here. Do you know that Mike Tomlin has never had a losing record?
It's fantastic. Great.
Okay,
awesome.
Let me throw another one out at you. What about the Giants?
Well, they have Andrew Thomas, and they drafted Evan Neal in the first round last year. But you could also Evan Neal was also an All-American guard at Alabama, so maybe you can do some shuffling there just to get your best 5 on the field.
I'm just going to throw out a couple here. Okay, how do you look at Green Bay at this point?
So that's one that's really interesting. Like, do you trust David Bakhtiari at all?
But there's multiple mitigating factors here also. What's Green Bay's future right now?
Yeah.
I mean, is it Jordan Love? And if it is Jordan Love, are you good enough at the receiver position for Jordan Love to excel? You know, I would argue Green Bay's skill slots outside of running back are in the bottom tier of the league.
Yeah. Chicago?
Donovan Smith's not going to want to play there unless they pay big time money. Yeah, and I don't see them doing that. Look, some of these are stretches, but you're asking me off the cuff. And I'm trying to not just spitball here with you, but thinking about what makes sense for the player and what I still like looking at the playoff grouping. And as I was going through and I was trying to think, well, I just don't think Miami would be it. And we already used Cincinnati. I think your suggestion of Buffalo is the one that I like the best.
And let's move on to Buffalo. Now, I cheated a little bit here. This isn't a player, but we haven't talked about him yet.
Okay.
Leslie Frazier, not going to coach.
Okay. I was wondering. I was like, all right, doggone it. I was like, who am I missing?
Yeah, I know. Leslie Frazier, not going to coach in 2023. Sean McDermott said it's not a guarantee that he's back in 2024. Some rumblings that taken off for personal issues. And there's also some concern that maybe Buffalo wanted to start over on defense. So I don't want to talk about where Leslie Frazier is going to land, but what should Buffalo do on defense without him?
No.
Do they just let McDermott just take over?
Let me start here. Leslie Frazier's had a fine career, like a really outstanding career as a coordinator. He became Minnesota's coach when Brad Childress got fired, I believe. I think he's a good coach. And by the way, Leslie Frazier was a pretty good corner. Leslie Frazier was the starting corner on the 85 Bears defense. Did you know that?
I didn't know that
one. I believe it was a punt return in Super Bowl 20 that he tore up his knee. It was either an interception return or a punt return, but I'm pretty sure it was a punt return. And he didn't play. That ruined his career. He was in like year 5, man. Can you imagine you're in year 5, right, as a corner? That is like when your athleticism is really great, but your knowledge of what they're trying to do is equally great. And you're on the best defense maybe in the history of the league, or what people consider to be. and you're a starter and you're making videos, and then boom, your career's gone like that. And then you end up turning into, you have a great second life as a coach. Anyway, that's enough on Leslie Frazier. We've just never talked about him before.
Yeah.
Sean McDermott was a good defensive coordinator for Philadelphia. He went to Carolina. I'm all for Sean McDermott taking it over. What Sean McDermott's going to have to ask himself, though, if he were to do that, is who on that staff does he trust to help him with game management?
Yeah.
And I don't think that's an admission of incompetence to
no,
say,
no,
hey,
not at all.
I need a little help. I need some eyes in the sky for me. Go ahead.
I just wonder too, if Buffalo was like, hey, in 2020, we got shredded by the Chiefs in the AFC Championship game. In 2021, we got shredded by the Chiefs in the divisional round, and we gave up a field goal with 13 seconds left. In 2022, the Bengals ran the ball all through us on defense. Do we, as great as Frazier is it time to just kind of part ways and go in a different direction? I just wonder if that's what's going on here.
Maybe so, but I'm going to use your own logic about some of your favorite players and coaches. Do we really want to use a series of 1 game sample sizes to judge someo's career? I'm not trying to be a jerk by saying that, but when you and I have discussions about some other guys, that comes up a lot with you, because and I don't want to speak for you here, but your feeling is we need a catalog, and 2 or 3 one-off games is not enough of a catalog. Now, if we're talking 5 to 7, right, I think that would be a different deal. I have a lot of respect for Leslie Frazier.
Yeah, and we know that some of these organizations are a little bit fickle, right? Like sometimes they just want to move on to the next best thing or try something different just for the sake of trying something different. But I'm going to be really curious to see who Buffalo hires or what they do here, because this is one of the top 5 teams in the NFL. And this defense has been really, really good over the last 3 or 4 years. So they've got to nail this one.
So out of all these 8 that you've asked me, which one do you think I'm the most curious about?
Taylor Lewan.
Actually, him and Bobby Trees both.
Yeah, I figured.
But I like your number 1 question too, man. I like it a lot. And it will be interesting to see who's going to want to spend money on either tackle here. Some of these others don't move the needle as much for me. Carson Wentz doesn't move the needle as much.
Shocking.
And Marcus Mariota either, just because I think
he's a
I
big
know
name,
what he
though.
is.
2 former second or number 2 overall picks on this list.
Oh, hey, man, no doubt. But those are my thoughts. As always, I give you the last thought on the podcast. So please, sir.
Oh man, I never get the last thought. This is awesome. No, I should just mention that there's a big story coming out of the combine on Wednesday. Jalen Carter, a lot of people's number 1 player in the draft, has an arrest warrant out for his involvement in it seems like a drag racing thing that was going on. It's shocking sometimes how all this stuff kind of gets uncovered at the NFL Combine, which is one of the reasons I do like it, is because you can't hide anything. I'm sure we're going to be learning a lot more over the next couple of days.
Yeah, that's a not fun story, that's for sure. But we're, again, with the Combine, we're going to do a primer tomorrow. We will talk a little bit more about that. I want to talk a little bit about old games too for a couple minutes tomorrow, but that's enough for today. We appreciate you guys joining us. If you want to catch more Marcus's takes, listen to Locked On Cowboys. He does it with Landon McCool. Landon does a great job. Give him a follow. He's a huge proponent of our podcast. Also, Marcus covers the Raiders for USA Today, and he writes for ProFootballFocus.org.com. I am at Harrison NFL on Twitter. He's at Marcus_Mosher on Twitter. We will talk to you guys tomorrow. We thank the good folks at Brinks, and we'll see you later. Bye-bye.